I would not be alive today if it were not for Marijuana Anonymous. In those early days of sobriety, I went to other 12-step meetings and was told that I couldn't talk about marijuana in one group. In another group, I was called a lightweight right to my face. I don't think borderline suicide because of addiction is lightweight, no matter what the substance. MA was the only place I felt safe. It was the only place I really got help. As recommended, I went to 90 meetings in 90 days. In fact, I actually went to 205 meetings during my first 205 days clean and sober. My life had become such a mess that I needed some real structure in it. I got a temporary sponsor at my first meeting outside of the hospital and took my first service commitment as refreshment person at an MA meeting 4 days later. This program does work if you work it. I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. It's hard for me to see that in myself. I can see it much more easily in other recovering addicts around me. What I can see is that I handle things much differently than I used to. I learned a long time ago that recovery is not the same thing as sobriety. Some days I have 10 years clean and sober and absolutely no recovery whatsoever. Some days I work a pretty good program and deal with life on life's terms with no argument. I may not like it. I don't have to, but I deal with it. I've learned that step one isn't just about being powerless over marijuana and other mind-altering substances. I've learned I'm also powerless over other people, places, things, and time. When I allow something to start affecting me negatively, I have to shake up my thinking and remind myself that I do have power over my own attitude. I don't even always have power over my own thoughts. Lots of times they just come zinging in without my permission. What I do with those thoughts and how I deal with them emotionally is dependent upon my attitude, which in turn is dependent upon my recovery. I can recognize that I'm powerless, know that a power greater than myself can help me to deal with my problem or thought, and turn to that power greater than myself to help me handle it. In the Serenity Prayer, we ask for serenity to deal with things that we cannot change, courage to change things that we can, and wisdom to know the difference between the two. For me, the turning point is my attitude. I cannot pray and meditate for serenity without first getting an attitude adjustment, nor can I start moving towards doing something about a problem without first getting an attitude adjustment. Even the request to a higher power to help me understand the difference between something that requires acceptance and something that permits action begins with my own attitude. I have to be willing. I've always had a problem with cloudy days. When I prayed, if I prayed at all, it was, God, please take the clouds away. Excuse me? No, God didn't take the clouds away. Now that I've learned about adjusting my attitude, if a dreary day is bothering me so much that I have to pray about it, it's, higher power, please help me deal with the clouds. Yes. Then my HP does help me deal with cloudy skies. When I first got clean and sober, I had a problem with God as I understand God, because I didn't understand God at all, and didn't particularly like Him either. The God of my childhood was a punishing God who seemed to be constantly penalizing me for some unknown transgression. What I have learned in my recovery is that I don't have to understand what a higher power is. I only have to understand that there is a power greater than myself. In fact, there are lots of them. It helps me to believe that whatever that power is, it is a loving power. For a long time, my higher power was the fellowship itself. I knew that a room full of marijuana addicts trying to help each other was certainly a power much greater than myself. That room full of addicts is still a loving power greater than myself. But now I also have a higher power, Great Spirit, or Cosmic Parent. Even God is no longer a dirty word. So it's God as I understand God, and I don't understand her at all. Life is still in session. There are good days and bad ones. Some are very bad. But I no longer scream to the heavens, why me? The reality is, why not me? You know what happens, and and it happens to all of us. It may feel like we're being singled out, but that's just a feeling. It's not reality. Over the years, I've taken a lot of service commitments in MA, from those early days of bringing cookies and making coffee at meetings, all the way through to various jobs at the World Service level. For a long time, service commitments at the business level helped me stay clean and sober. There is nothing to work on your guilt more than knowing your friends won't get their coffee if you don't show up. What helps me most at this time in my recovery is sponsorship. Sometimes I think I have the nuttiest sponsees in any 12-step program. Then I remember back and realize, no, my sponsors have the nuttiest sponsee. We have absolutely no idea how strange our thinking can be when we first walk in the doors of these rooms. We think we just have a little substance problem, and as soon as we get off the weed for a little while, everything will be simply great. The 12 steps are a way of life. They are tools for living life and dealing with its heartaches and triumphs. Yeah, triumphs. When I first got clean, I couldn't deal with the good stuff any better than I could deal with the bad. Most of us walk in the doors of MA as egotists with no self-esteem. Some of us think we're the baddest of the bad. All of us know that we're the center of the universe. Steps 1, 2, and 3 were fairly easy for me to get through. There is no way I can tell you the relief I felt after getting through 4 and 5, only to find out that my sponsor had already been there, done that, on a lot of the things I fessed up to. There was no judgment. 6 and 7 were actually a little harder than I had imagined, as I had gotten used to some of those character challenges, as my sponsor likes to call them, and it took some work to be willing to get rid of them. 8 wasn't too bad, but I did hang between 8 and 9 as I did some of the amends, while it took longer to go back and be willing on others. When I was through, it was such a relief to know I had cleaned up the wreckage that I had created in my life. I felt so much better about myself. We say 10, 11, and 12 are maintenance steps, but we can start them the first day we walk in the door, particularly 10 and 11. It's as though I finally got that how-to manual I always wanted when I was younger. Now I know how to do life. I just don't use no matter what. I adjust my attitude and use my tools, and I do it one day at a time. Actually, we do it one day at a time. I cannot do this alone.
love is bigger than a Cadillac. I tried to show you, but you drive me back. You love me.